You guys have this, the outreach program for soccer for disabled players, which by the way is also the only program we have that has no upper age limit. So they can be chronologically 30 years old and still participate in top soccer. Soccer Across America is our effort to grow the game, inner city situations, rural communities, sparsely populated, Native American reservations, all the different places that we're trying to continue to grow the sport of soccer across our nation. 350 million people in our country, we have a lot more room for growth of our sport. Extracurricular programs for our older players could be things, additional training, right? Might be speed training, teaching running mechanics, begins even at U6 and U8, how to run correctly, how to jump and land correctly. It's just part of that physical education piece that we were talking about. Here you see our men's national team. They're putting on heart rate monitors in a training session. All right? Mental skills training is something I find very, very few clubs doing. It's interesting that we lead the world in sports psychology research, but we use it so little ourselves. Probably all of you know what visualization is, but don't actually teach visualization to your players and how to actually use it in your training sessions and matches as a player. So putting mental skills training into, it's just as important as teaching the push pass or being able to do have a good vertical jump in terms of physical fitness. So mental skills training is a part of what we do. As we get older players, 13 on up, as we're dealing with the teenagers, because this has limited value with preteen players. It's not 100% useless, but there's so many other things that are higher on the to-do list with preteen players and their development that fitness testing isn't a big need for us. But as we get into our teenage years, particularly as we get into adolescence, 16 and older, fitness testing and fitness programming can really begin to pay dividends. So what I tell coaches is if you do fitness testing, have a plan to use it. Don't do testing just for the sake of doing testing and then forget about it. No, you do testing to collect data to be able to devise a plan for that player, that player, that player, that player individually to help them individually because each of their individual fitness needs are different, from one another. So that's that fitness program. And the more professional of a person you can get involved in that, the better. So this is one of the other things that we say about soccer clubs that we're hoping that they'll begin to do more of and think of themselves as a social organization as well as a place to come and play soccer. This is part of that community involvement. What could be the impact on your club if you held a Christmas dance and the moms, the dads, the coaches, the referees, the administrators, all of the adults involved with the club are welcome to come. I know clubs that hold barbecues. Oh, you can see how long I was in Louisiana crawfish boil. Okay? And they did that for the coaches at the end of the season. The one club I was with in Baton Rouge, they did that crawfish boil for all of the recreational coaches at the end of the season to thank them for participating on the recreational side of the house. So a number of things that could happen there to build the sense and identity of club. So one of the things I learned from a coach, he's with the Seacoast United Soccer Club up in New Hampshire. And their club does this match of the week. I think it's a really neat idea. And what they do, on Monday, they post it on their website, they announce it at training sessions, etc., and they say, the match of the week within our club are the U11 Tigers. They're going to play on Field 3 at 10 o'clock. And everybody in the club that can make it goes to watch that game. And next weekend, it's the U17 team. And the next week, it's the U6 team. And they do this, and you get the kids, and whoever can come, and it starts to build and grow a little bit. And they support each other within the club. I've got to tell you, one of the clubs that I think at the National Championship Series that I see regularly at the National Finals is the Eclipse Soccer Club. And those girls, when one of their teams has a match, if they have other teams there, they are there in force. And it's really neat to watch. Right? And they are really supporting and cheering for their teammates in another team within the same club. So we talked a little bit about developing the product of the players and the blueprint for player development already. And we've talked a little bit about club programming and some of the ideas within that and how that all impacts things. So directors of coaching for a club, for age groups, for levels of play, perhaps within a club, having some bars set in the club of what's the minimum certification we want for our coaches. To require some minimum, you require certification from your teachers. You require something from your scout leader in terms of their qualifications to be a Boy Scout, Girl Scout leader. You know, we should have the same thing in all of our youth sports. Right? It's amazing how many parents turn their child over in youth sports to coaches who often have no more qualification than they had a car to get to practice. You know, and they were able to get there, but have no other qualifications at all. Qualified board members in terms of some sports administration background, or at least learning some of those things, et cetera, et cetera. Having a business plan we talked about, the organizational structure we hit upon a little bit. The idea of a sister club, you have a sister club in another state, another part of the country, another country, right? We're a worldwide sport. Why don't we have sister cities? Why don't we have sister soccer clubs in another state, another region of the United States, another country? We're an international sport. Let's embrace that. Okay, so here's a way to begin to get an exchange going with some people. It could be everything from soccer exchange to cultural exchange, right? And take advantage of all of that's out there. So we put this forward to our soccer clubs as the decision-making formula for the board of directors and for the directors of coaching. That as they're making decisions, now this might not be so much of a factor when they're deciding which insurance plan to go with, but when you're deciding things like scheduling of matches and the design of fields and these things that impact the players, then we go to this decision-making formula. Anything that impacts the players would go to this formula. First and foremost, what's the impact of that decision on the player? Second, on the team. Third, its impact on the club. Finally, its impact on the family. And it has to go in that order. And when it goes in that order, then as a club, we're beginning to make decisions that go in the direction that really enhance our final product, which is the players, which is impacting the positive development of the players. So, I'll flip all of this up. This is the last slide. I apologize for going a little long, but hope it was thorough for you. And this is actually Tom Fleck. He's retired now, but he's the primary author of the National Youth License of a lot of the materials that we use with USU Soccer. And just a wonderful quote from him. And I would encourage any of you that haven't been to the National Youth License course to take a look at your next opportunity to go into that course to get the foundation for all of the coaching that you'll do. But any questions or comments that you might have, I'll be glad to entertain those for however long you gentlemen would like to stay.
Thank you, Sam. That was excellent.